Hi, it's me. Number 4, Death of an Archaeologist. In 1922, Egyptologist Howard Carter discovered the tomb of the boy king Tutankhamun. It was the first intact pharaoh's tomb ever found, but soon after, strange things started happening. First, an argument broke out between Carter and his sponsor, Lord Carnarvon, over who would get credit for the discovery. Then, just as the bickering was resolved, Carnarvon died suddenly of a mosquito bite. Next, Carter's financial backer, the wealthy American millionaire George J. Gould, also died unexpectedly. And then there was Carter himself, who developed a mysterious illness shortly before his own death in 1939. Did Tutankhamun's tomb hold some terrible curse that killed all these people? Let's take a look at the real reason behind their deaths. Lord Carnarvon was 62 years old when he suffered a fatal heart attack brought on by a mosquito bite. Sure, it sounds like the plot of an Indiana Jones movie, but this actually happened. On April 1923, while working in the tomb, Lord Carnarvon accidentally got bitten by a mosquito on his left nostril. The wound turned into a nasty blister and grew increasingly painful. Concerned about the infection, his doctor gave him a morphine injection. Unfortunately, it was too strong and put the already weak Lord Carnarvon into a deep sleep from which he never woke up. While some believe this was the curse of the pharaohs at work, a more plausible explanation is that Lord Carnarvon had contracted malaria, which is common in the Nile Delta region. When the parasite that causes malaria, Plasmodium falciparum, enters the bloodstream through a mosquito bite, it quickly starts multiplying. This results in fever, chills, sweats, headache, body aches, and other flu-like symptoms. If not treated promptly, malaria can lead to severe complications such as organ failure, seizures, coma, and death. Since there were no effective treatments available at the time, Lord Carnarvon probably succumbed to the disease. But what about Carter's other backer, George J. Gould? Well, he met his end in much more spectacular fashion. On December 2nd, 1923, while sitting in his car outside the entrance to the tomb, he suffered a sudden heart attack. Some claim this was because he didn't want to let Carter take all the credit for the discovery. But this is most likely not true, since grief can cause stress, which can trigger heart attacks. Just a few months earlier, Gould had lost his son, and he was still mourning his loss when he learned about the discovery of the tomb. Grief can be a very powerful emotion, and it's possible that it played a role in his sudden death. After all, studies have shown that unresolved grief can lead to serious health problems, including cardiovascular disease. As for Carter, his death was even more dramatic. In March 1939, at the age of 62, he began experiencing severe pain in his abdomen. He was rushed to the hospital where he underwent emergency surgery. It was discovered that he had a perforated ulcer, which is a hole that develops in the lining of the stomach or intestines. This can cause stomach contents to leak into the abdominal cavity, leading to infection and death if left untreated. Sadly, the surgery was unsuccessful and Carter died a few hours later. So was this the curse of the pharaohs? Not quite. While a perforated ulcer can be fatal, it's also relatively common. In fact, it's estimated that about 500,000 people in the US develop perforated ulcers each year. There's no evidence that Carter's ulcer was caused by anything other than bad luck. Did Tutankhamun's tomb really hold a curse? So are there any real curses associated with Tutankhamun's tomb? Well, there is one famous case that has captured the public's imagination, the case of Victor Lucas. He was a member of the Egyptian Antiquities Service who worked as an inspector in the Cairo Museum in the early 1920s. While examining some newly acquired artifacts from the tomb, he noticed a small scarab ring that looked like it had been buried for thousands of years. Intrigued, he took the ring home with him. The next day, he began to experience severe stomach cramps. and was rushed to the hospital where he died a few hours later. Some believe that this was because he disturbed the resting place of the pharaoh by removing an artifact from his tomb. However, this is just a theory. There is no evidence to support it. In fact, there is no evidence that Lucas even took the ring from the tomb. It's possible that the ring was cursed, but there are just as many, if not more, examples of supposedly cursed artifacts that have been handled without any ill effects. While the death of Lord Carnarvon and others involved in the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb may seem suspicious, there is a perfectly rational explanation for each of them. In the end, there is no evidence that a curse actually killed anyone. The idea is a lot of fun to think about, but it's simply not supported by the facts. Thanks for watching.